When it comes to ICP, why am I not concerned even though nothing I say is financial advice? Well, it's because I think a lot of people could probably agree that when it comes to the biggest thing that's happened to the internet computer as of late is something called Caffeine AI, allegedly a self-writing apps platform. Now, a lot of people as well like to tell me that, oh, it's a foregone conclusion that this is a flop. It didn't really do anything. Take a look at the price of ICP. It's around $3. And I get how the price isn't necessarily doing the best, but I want to ask some of those people this question. Like, for instance, when it comes to Caffeine AI, right? So far, around 700 applications have been built with, again, Caffeine AI. Is that a bad statistic? At least to me, it's not. Also, on top of that, when I take a look at this, this is, keep in mind, without an altcoin season and with ICP not doing good whatsoever in terms of price. Now, granted, some people may argue, okay, that the price of ICP sometimes is irrelevant when it comes to whether or not someone wants to build an application. Totally understand that. But I feel like time and time again, usually I've seen that a lot of applications do start launching when the market is doing better. And keep in mind, it doesn't mean that will be the case, but just seeing that trend kind of sometimes historically speaking, this statistic is actually very impressive considering, first of all, the relatively kind of recent announcement when it comes to Caffeine AI, and also on top of that, considering how the space just isn't necessarily doing the best, and it's already doing that. So imagine if, let's say, there was an altcoin season. Imagine if, let's say, the market conditions were better. It just wouldn't surprise me if it looked better than right now. However, when it comes to the internet computer, I think if anything, it also showcases that when it comes to times where it's not necessarily doing the best, even Caffeine AI is already kind of doing stuff like this. And here's the thing as well. If, let's say, ICP had Caffeine AI, right? If this was a big narrative when it comes to ICP when the price was around $18 not too long ago, like, it would be a totally different situation. So in terms of the timing of the launch of Caffeine AI, it may not be perfect in terms of the price of ICP when compared to that. But in the grand scheme of things, I think it's actually very impressive considering how that right there was done where the market was just not doing the best, and that still happened. So I must say that when it comes to what I see with the internet computer, when it comes to just what Dfinity is doing overall, I haven't given up. I'm just not having this moment where I think, oh, it's this foregone conclusion that this was a flop, this is not going to do well. I just don't have that type of mindset. Even though the idea of $100 is still in my mind when it comes to ICP, which wouldn't even necessarily surprise me because the market cap at that point would be around 54 billion considering current circulating supply, still over 50 billion less than what BNB reached even back in 2021 in terms of market cap. But even besides that, I get it, $100 is around a 33x from here. But still, even despite all of that, the way I take a look at it is that when it comes to, let's say, there is an altcoin season. Let's say there is a time when the markets did do a lot better. Even though it may seem like a ways away, the internet computer is still around, right? Dfinity is still around. Let's take a look at, for instance, something like Cadena. I've been historically a very big fan of that. But then guess what happened? Even though I'm very disappointed with this, the Cadena organization not too long ago announced that they were going to be ceasing operations, right? And let's just let that sink in. Cadena was touted as a very impressive layer 1 blockchain. Like, it was this thing that could maybe be good. But then the Cadena organization, they announced that they're going to be ceasing operations. So the way I take a look at it is that even some good projects out there, they don't survive at a time like this when the market isn't necessarily doing the best. But the internet computer is still around. Dfinity is still around. Now, is it the only one that's around? No. I mean, a bunch of other projects are around too. But still, at the end of the day, I still think it's very impressive considering how it's still able to survive. And even if we take a look at just sometimes in the world of business, just being able to survive through the moments when the market isn't necessarily doing the best, we've seen it pay off for some big companies out there. Take a look at Apple, right? Did they have such a good start? You know what I mean? Take a look at something like Amazon. They had to go through some things too, in my perspective. I'm not saying this is going to be the next big thing, however, just kind of what I've seen historically speaking. And also, some people like to say, oh, but it's because Dfinity is being run properly by the right people. This is why it's still around, despite the price. Well, let's just think about this, right? Cadena organization, a member of their advisory team is Dr. Stuart Haber, who not only is the co-inventor of blockchain, by the way, but also the most cited author in Satoshi Nakamoto's Bitcoin white paper. Even with Dr. Stuart Haber, take a look at what happened to the Cadena organization. You know what I mean? So having a good team doesn't necessarily guarantee a project success. But again, Dfinity, the internet computer, it's still around. So I think that if anything is a testament to, I think, again, the internet computer and as well as Dfinity. Also on top of that as well, when I take a look at the founders of Cadena, it's Will Martino and Stuart Popejoy. They both helped build JP Morgan's first ever blockchain. Is that not good enough of a team? You know what I mean? And still that happened to the Cadena organization. So I think, again, that kind of showcases how I think Dfinity being able to kind of stick around even as of right now, it's very impressive in my opinion. And again, sure, ICP doesn't necessarily have the best performance in terms of the price chart, but I just haven't given up actually in the grand scheme of things because, for instance, I take a look at the Solana integration, I take a look at what it's doing with Bitcoin DeFi and how that is supposedly powering that. So overall, I just haven't given up when it comes to their computer. I still like it fundamentally. All I'm doing as of right now is just waiting and staying patient, and if anything, me being able to dollar cost average into ICP at around $3, I mean, wow, a project like this that has a price that is around $3. Like, I'm not telling you to do anything, by the way, but personally for me, if I liked ICP at above $10 as of right now, I think it's kind of a little bit mind-blowing for me to see how a project that is doing what it's doing, but then the price is like relatively this low. But again, a lot of altcoins are also kind of doing this type of stuff because altcoins are not necessarily doing the best. But personally for me, all I'm doing is just staying patient, holding and just waiting, because I think by me just dollar cost averaging and just waiting, it's kind of like enough preparation for me anyways, the way I take a look at it. Because if, let's say, the market for whatever reason decides to wake up, it's kind of like me going along with the ride, right? I didn't have to try to find the perfect moment. I didn't have to try to anticipate this or that. And quite frankly, I think that's going to be very stressful for me to do that anyways. So I don't do that. And also, even if I put up a price chart, I drew a random triangle or something like that, I drew a falling wedge pattern, the market's not going to care about that. So I'm not going to do that, you know? I'm just going to stay patient and just hold and just wait. But in the meantime, I do really like what I'm seeing when it comes to the internet computer. So I haven't given up. I'm still thinking about $100 when it comes to ICP, even though I'm not telling you to do anything. But this is just my perspective. I mean, as of right now, $30 is a 10x from here, around that. Like, what? That's kind of surprising. Even if, let's say, I'm not saying over $18, let's just say $10, it's over 3x from here. I'm not telling you to do anything, but this is just the way I take a look at it. If I want to wait for Bitcoin to do a 3x, I'd have to wait for it to go to over 300 grand. For ICP, I just have to wait $10. Doesn't mean it will happen, right? Because Bitcoin is way more popular than ICP, but still, you know, this is just the way I take a look at it. And I haven't given up, but I'm still staying patient. And nothing I say is financial advice. However, again, I'm just waiting at this point. And feel free to subscribe if you enjoyed this video. I'd greatly appreciate it. I hope you all have a nice day. I want to say thank you for watching. It's been Lee the Captain, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.